Rain poured heavily over the streets of Chicago. Cars rushed past with their headlights glowing through the storm, and people hurried home without looking at anyone around them. On a cold night like this, nobody wanted to stop. Nobody wanted trouble. But one small act of kindness was about to change two lives forever. At the corner of a busy street stood a young woman named Emily. Her clothes were soaked, her hands trembled from the cold, and tears mixed with the rain on her face. She had nowhere to go. No family waiting for her. No warm home. Just silence, fear, and a broken heart. And then, a stranger noticed her. Before we begin this emotional story, make sure to subscribe to, like this video, and leave a comment sharing a moment when someone's kindness changed your life. Stories like this remind us that even the smallest act of kindness can heal a hurting soul. Daniel Harper was driving home after a long day at work. At 42 years old, life had become routine for him. Wake up. Work. Eat dinner alone. Sleep. Repeat. Ever since losing his wife 3 years earlier, the world had felt quieter and colder. As Daniel waited at the traffic light, he noticed Emily standing under a flickering streetlight. Something about her expression stopped him. She looked lost, not just physically, but emotionally. Like someone carrying pain too heavy for her heart. The light turned green. Cars behind him honked impatiently. But Daniel couldn't drive away. He slowly pulled his car over to the side of the road and stepped out into the rain. "Miss," he called gently. Emily looked startled. Her eyes were filled with fear. She quickly wiped her tears and stepped back. "I'm fine," she whispered. Daniel knew she wasn't. "You're freezing," he said kindly. "Do you need help?" For a moment, Emily hesitated. Life had taught her not to trust strangers. Especially after everything she had been through. "I don't have anywhere to go," she admitted softly. Daniel's heart sank. He remembered the loneliness he felt after losing his wife. The nights when he wished someone would simply ask if he was okay. Without thinking twice, he removed his warm coat and handed it to her. "You'll get sick out here," he said. Emily stared at the coat like nobody had ever done something kind for her before. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Daniel paused. "Because someone should." Those 4 simple words nearly broke her. Emily had spent the last 6 months surviving in shelters, sleeping on buses, and avoiding dangerous streets. After aging out of foster care at 18, life became a constant battle. She worked small jobs when she could, but everything fell apart after she lost her apartment and got scammed out of her savings. Most people ignored her. Others judged her. But nobody stopped. Until tonight. Daniel offered to buy her dinner at a small diner nearby. At first, Emily refused. Pride and fear battled inside her heart. But hunger eventually won. Inside the warm diner, the smell of coffee and fresh soup wrapped around them like comfort. Emily sat quietly across from Daniel, unsure what to say. She ate slowly at first, embarrassed by how hungry she was. Daniel pretended not to notice. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt safe. As they talked, Daniel learned that Emily loved drawing. Ever since she was little, art had been her escape from pain. She carried a small notebook filled with sketches of people, buildings, and dreams she hoped one day would come true. Daniel flipped through the pages carefully. "These are incredible," he said honestly. Nobody had ever called her work incredible before. Emily smiled faintly. It was small, but real. And Daniel realized he hadn't seen a genuine smile in a very long time. Hours passed quickly. Outside, the storm continued, but inside the diner something warmer was growing. 2 lonely strangers slowly helping each other heal. When the waitress finally began stacking chairs, Daniel looked outside at the rain. "You can't stay out there tonight," he said. Emily looked down nervously. I'll figure something out. No, Daniel replied gently. I have a guest room. You can stay there until you get back on your feet. Emily froze. Part of her wanted to run away. Another part desperately wanted to believe kindness like this still existed. You don't even know me, she whispered. Daniel smiled sadly. Sometimes people don't need to know your whole story to care about you. Tears filled Emily's eyes again. That night, for the first time in months, she slept in a warm bed. But neither of them knew this simple act of kindness was only the beginning. Because over the next few weeks, their lives would change in ways neither could imagine. And a broken stranger standing in the rain would soon become family. The next morning, sunlight poured softly through the kitchen window as Emily woke up to the smell of pancakes. For a second, she forgot where she was. The warmth of the house felt unfamiliar after months of cold shelters and sleepless nights. She walked quietly into the kitchen and found Daniel cooking breakfast while old jazz music played in the background. "Morning," he said with a smile. Emily looked surprised. "You made breakfast?" Daniel laughed softly. "I'm not great at it, but I try." For the first time in a long while, Emily sat at a table and ate without worrying about where her next meal would come from. Days turned into weeks. Daniel helped Emily apply for jobs and replace her lost documents. He encouraged her to keep drawing and even bought her new art supplies. At first, Emily felt guilty accepting help. She kept expecting Daniel to change his mind. But he never did. Slowly, the walls around her heart began to fall. At the same time, something inside Daniel was changing too. The house no longer felt empty. For years, silence had filled every room. After his wife Sarah passed away from cancer, Daniel stopped truly living. He worked because he had to. He smiled when necessary. But deep inside, grief followed him everywhere. Emily brought life back into the home. She placed little sketches on the refrigerator. She laughed at Daniel's terrible cooking. She even convinced him to take evening walks again. One night, while organizing old boxes in the attic, Emily discovered photo albums filled with pictures of Daniel and Sarah. "You really loved her," Emily said softly. Daniel nodded. "She was the kindest person I ever knew." Emily noticed tears forming in his eyes. "You still miss her every day, don't you?" "Every single day." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Emily quietly said something Daniel would never forget. "Kind people never really leave us. They stay alive in the kindness we show others." Daniel looked at her in silence. Sarah used to say almost the exact same thing. That night, Daniel cried for the first time in years. Not because of pain, but because healing had finally begun. A few weeks later, Emily got a part-time job at a local bookstore downtown. The owner loved her artwork and allowed her to hang small sketches near the cafe corner inside the shop. Customers started noticing them. Some even bought them. For the first time in her life, Emily began believing she might actually have a future. But life wasn't finished testing them yet. One evening, Daniel collapsed at work from exhaustion. Years of stress and loneliness had quietly damaged his health. When Emily got the phone call, fear rushed through her chest. At the hospital, she sat beside his bed all night. Doctors said he would recover, but he needed rest and support. Emily refused to leave his side. As Daniel slept, she looked at the man who had saved her life with one simple act of kindness. And she realized something important. Sometimes the people who rescue others are hurting too. When Daniel finally woke up, he found Emily asleep in the chair beside him. For the first time since Sarah died, he didn't feel alone anymore. Months passed, and spring slowly arrived in Chicago. Snow melted from the sidewalks, flowers bloomed in city parks, and life seemed brighter somehow. Emily's artwork became popular at the bookstore cafe. One customer connected her with a local community center looking for an art teacher for underprivileged children. Emily accepted immediately. Every Saturday morning, she taught kids how to draw, paint, and express emotions through art. Many of the children came from difficult homes, just like she once had. And every week, Emily shared the same message. Your story doesn't end because life gets hard. Daniel often watched from the back of the classroom, smiling quietly as children gathered around Emily with excitement and hope in their eyes. One afternoon, a little boy stayed behind after class. My mom says nobody cares about people like us, he whispered sadly. Emily knelt beside him gently. She's wrong, Emily said. Sometimes kindness finds us when we least expect it. Daniel stood there listening, realizing those words described exactly what had happened to both of them. A year earlier, they were two strangers drowning in loneliness. Now they were family. Not by blood, but by kindness. On the anniversary of the rainy night they first met, Emily gave Daniel a framed drawing. It showed a man standing beneath a streetlight in the rain, offering his coat to someone lost in the darkness. At the bottom, she had written, "One moment of kindness can change a life forever." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Because it was true. Most people think kindness has to be something big. Money. Fame. Grand gestures. But often, kindness is simply noticing someone others ignore. Listening when someone feels invisible. Stopping when everyone else keeps walking. That small decision Daniel made at a traffic light created a ripple effect neither of them could have imagined. Emily rebuilt her life. Daniel healed his broken heart. And together, they began helping others heal too. The world today can feel cold and divided. People rush past each other every day carrying hidden pain, silent battles, and heavy hearts. But kindness still matters. It always will. Because sometimes, the smallest act of compassion becomes the reason someone keeps going. So the next time you see someone struggling, stop for a moment. Offer a smile. Offer hope. Offer kindness. You may never fully realize how much your actions can change someone's life. And maybe, just maybe, your kindness will become the light that helps someone find their way home again.